Resident Evil has a problem with its old main characters that the fandom needs to face. Old favorites such as Chris, Leon, Jill, and Ada no longer work anymore. The other great characters just might have a chance, such as Billy, Rebecca, and Sheva, but they will face the same path as the main ones sooner than later. The problem is, this isn't their first time entering the world of survival horror.
God damn it, when does it end?
What's that, sir? The mission?
All of it.
The best examples of this are Chris and Leon. Chris has already hit the peak of masculinity with punching a boulder, obviously. But after Resident Evil 5, he pretty much will try and make sure to come fully prepared and loaded. He's pretty much your military vet, still on duty. In Resident Evil 6, 7, and 8, it shows him most of the time showing up and adapting to the situation quickly. Even in the movie Vendetta, he and Leon prove it, even if the action can be a bit goofy. Leon is in the same boat as Chris, although all he lacks is firepower, with him always carrying a handgun and sometimes an extra weapon. Leon went from a cop with little experience all the way up to an agent answering to the president.
I received special training via a secret organization working under the direct control of the president.
The only thing that may get the characters a little anxious is when the situation is quiet and tense, until the bullets start flying. In the franchise's universe now, Jill and the new character Rose both have abilities which are more than human. Jill, for sure, has a strength and speed. As for Rose, it is unknown, but can be compared to the other Evelyn.
Whoa, it's just a joke, Rose.
I can show you things even Chris doesn't know I can do.
The only characters that are accepted to have action by the fandom is sometimes Ada and always Hunk, though the fandom doesn't realize that the main characters are already transformed into Hunk by adapting to the situation with little to no fear. It doesn't also help that Chris could be Mr. Death at this point, with most of his team members dying all the time, which happened in RE6, 7, and Vendetta. If fans wish they could have survival horror back to their old favorite characters, it'll have to be accepted that some Resident Evil plot cliches will have to happen.
Jill, go and investigate.
What are these Resident Evil cliches that could happen to the fandom's favorite characters? The first one would be investigating with little firepower as seen in Resident Evil, Dead Aim, 4, 5, and Revelations 1, where all characters start off going in with just a handgun, even though for BSAA operatives they have the ability to bring in more guns, such as with Quinn, Keith, Jessica, and even Chris. This even shows in RE7, 8, and 2 of the latest CGI movies. Another main RE plot cliche could be getting ambushed and either assumed dead or captured, although most times it's usually captured, with Leon tied up for a bit in Damnation. Meanwhile, Claire and Moira are trapped in part of an experiment with Revelations 2. The only other ways to force these old characters with little equipment is having them be attacked unprepared. Examples, mostly with Leon, having his campaign in RE6 and the start of RE2. The same may be said with the upcoming Netflix Infinite Darkness, but how that starts will be revealed on July 8th. The very last part is if something happens with the character's gear. This has happened with Chris in Code Veronica in a section with the RE5 DLC, Lost in Nightmares. The question is, why would these RE cliches happen? Well, simply put, it's the only way to force these fearless characters into a situation where they have little to no weapons and will have to survive. No one likes hearing that they may not be able to play their favorite character, possibly forever, especially if they never really get that closure in a series. Though, where else would writers and game devs go to add in these fan favorites that have experience, are no longer fearless and are pretty much soldiers and agents. As said earlier, the only way they can come back is if they investigate, lose all gear, or are attacked unprepared, since every character has experience and are loaded up going in. The only ones who would still be a bit rusty are characters that haven't encountered BOWs for quite a while, such as Billy, Rebecca, Carlos, Ark, and Alyssa, who may be alive unless it was only meant as an Easter egg. The only reason why Outbreak characters haven't been referenced is because it is a bit wonky with canon, but there are some references in RE2 Remake, and the multiple endings leave it unknown with the character's fate in Outbreak. Besides having difficulties making experienced characters start off with nothing, and barely even adding in previous characters to the franchise as of lately, the game development itself will be a struggle, knowing that it's gotta be okay for new players and a challenge for veterans. The time for these fan favorites to retire could one day be around the corner, but it may not come with closure and answers that the fans would want one day.